Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is John Campea, and this is a companion video. What is a companion video? Well, every day on the John Campea Show and on open mics, we take live questions from the audience. However, we don't always have time to get around to all the live questions that get sent in. I want to make sure those questions get answered in a video, so I gather up those unused questions and we address them here on companion videos. Now, today's a long one because we're a little bit backed up. We've got companion videos. We got, questions still remaining from Friday, from Saturday, and from today. Monday is when I'm recording this. So we got a lot of questions to get caught up on. So let's not waste any time and dive right into it. The first question comes to us from Koa1708, who writes, Ant-Man came out of the quantum realm into the future. I don't know that he came out of the quantum realm into the future so much as I just think he was in the quantum realm for that long. And maybe to him it felt like he was in there for 5 minutes and then came out and actually a year had passed. Or maybe he was in there for what felt like 100 years. And then he comes out and only 1 year had passed. I'm not sure. But I don't think he time traveled. I just think in the quantum realm, his sense of time becomes different. Or maybe it felt like he was in there for a year and he came out 1 year later. We'll have to find out. But I don't think it just time traveled him into the future. You know what I'm saying? Okay, Koa follows up with, we need a bad guy for Thor, Captain Marvel, and Hulk to fight. Well, I mean, do we? I mean, I just don't know. And at this point, if it's not Thanos, I'm not quite sure it's going to be. Look, I suspect that Thanos doesn't play a huge role in Endgame. Maybe he does. It's a strong possibility he does. I suspect maybe he doesn't, but even if he doesn't, I think we're still going to get a throwdown with at least him and Thor. Maybe Hulk too. I mean, I'm really wanting to see a big Hulk smash moment. Maybe it'll be against Thor. Maybe it'll be against somebody else. Bennett Hardy writes, seen every MCU movie like 5 times. Hashtag Endgame hype. Yeah, I don't think I've seen all of them 5 times. Like, I haven't watched Iron Man 2 5 times, and I don't plan to. I haven't seen Thor the Dark World 5 times, and I don't plan to. And I haven't seen Guardians 2 5 times, and I probably won't ever see it 5 times. But yeah, I've seen a lot of the MCU multiple times, and yep, it's all building up towards the hype to Endgame. Okay, Orange Hand writes, funniest movie scene ever in my opinion is from Big Lebowski when John Goodman smashes the car. Do you see what happens, Larry? Classic scene. Actually, there are 3 or 4 moments from Big Lebowski that you could put in that conversation. For me, still, the funniest moment ever in any movie is Spaceballs, Dark Helmet saying, now Lone Star, you'll see that evil will always triumph because good is dumb. But yours is pretty good too, Orange Hand. All right. Anurag Anoy writes, will Endgame be more Cap or Cap Tony centric? I don't know. I mean, going by what the Russos said in their Infinity War director's commentary, it sounds like Cap has a significant storyline in this new one. So I'm going to guess, I think they all get their moment in the sun, but if I had to guess, I think it's going to be more Cap-centric, but who knows? We'll never know, but at least until we see the movie, I'm going to lean towards Cap-centric. Samir Durrani writes, I think Thanos will manage to fix the gauntlet. How? Nanotech. Yeah, there it is. My big pet peeve, of course, and I love the MCU and I love Iron Man. My one pet peeve with Iron Man is that his suit now is just pure magic. It's just magic. And then they don't even try to explain. Now it's just, nanotech. Yeah, nanotech. That's how I do it. But your suit shouldn't be, nanotech. Nanotech. Yeah, so there you go. Thanos will fix the gauntlet. How? With nanotech. All right. Robbie DeMexican writes, I don't want to sound racist, but literally all stormtroopers look exactly alike. Okay, Robbie, you had me worried there for a second when I started reading that. I don't want to sound racist. I'm like, usually when somebody's about to say something racist, it starts with, I don't want to sound racist. But then, that's pretty funny. All stormtroopers literally look alike. You should put that on a t-shirt. Raven 4152001 writes, my Avengers theory, Goose eats Thanos, the end. Don't laugh, man. I've heard a number of people suggest that as a possibility. I don't know. Then again, I don't think Thanos is going to be in Act 2 and Act 3 of the movie. I could be wrong about that. I'm not willing to put $5 on that, but who knows? Blake Feely writes, will Marvel show their upcoming slate at D23? That's a good question. Actually, it's the $1 million question. Hold on a second. D23 date. Let's see. D23 is August 23rd to August 25th. So, Spider-Man Far From Home will have come out by then. We also would have had Comic-Con. I wouldn't be surprised. D23 seems to be where they kind of like to make those sorts of announcements. So at this point, and Kevin Feige has said they're not going to make any announcements until after Far From Home is done. So it seems like as good as place as any. That seems to be a good theory. All right, Dan M writes, over under 75% a major character of the MCU dies in Endgame. Well, Dan, I guess it all depends on our definition of major. Usually, some people would say major will be limited to Captain America, Thor, and Iron Man. Some people will want to include Hulk, Hawkeye, Black Widow. Some people will want to include beyond that Ant-Man, Rocket Raccoon, that level of character. So it all depends on what you mean by major character. If we're saying any of the headline characters, so there's like 15 of them, yeah, I'd say over 70%, but it looks like the movie's going to end with everybody alive. So, I don't know. If we're going to say that many characters, though, I guess I got to take over 75%. I still don't think it'll be Cap, but it may be Cap. It certainly could be Cap. I don't think it'll be Tony, could be Tony. I don't think it'll be Thor, but it could be Thor. So yeah, because there's so many characters that it's a possibility, I'll take the over on that. Zaya writes, I get your opinion on the Denai Guerrero poster outrage, but I gotta admit it was a little weird having every person's name on that poster except her. Oh no, I agree. The optics were weird, but would it have been better if she was not on the poster and didn't have her name? Like, that's the thing. That was my problem with all the outrage. It's like, it would have been a bigger deal to me. Like, nobody would have batted an eye. I wasn't expecting to see Okoye on the poster. So I don't think anybody would have batted an eye if her face wasn't on the poster and her name wasn't on it. But people acted like it was a bigger deal that she was on the poster and her name wasn't there. When to me, that's like, oh my God, I got to be on an Avengers poster? Okay, what? My name wasn't there. Whatever. You put me on, I don't know. And the outrage thing acted like it was a bigger deal than if her face wasn't on it. And to me, that's the bigger deal. She got to be on the poster. This secondary Black Panther character got to be on a main poster of an Avengers movie. That's huge. And yes, I agree. The optics were weird that her face was on there, but her name wasn't up there. I agree. The optics were odd. I agree. But again, the outrage that was expressed over it's like, oh my God, come on. Like, Gwyneth Paltrow is in this movie and she's not on the poster, but nobody's saying boo about that. But anyway, that was just the way I kind of felt. But I agree. The optics were weird. I completely agree on that. Robert Perez writes, right before the final fight starts, turns to Rogers and says, strength and honor. Just kidding. Love the show. By the way, keep up the great work. Hi to Rob and Ashley. Well, thanks for that. And of course, Rob, for those of you who don't know what Rob's referring to, that, of course, is the great line from Gladiator. Strength and honor. That's what the gladiators would say to each other going into battle or going into war or whatever. I love Gladiator, and it would be pretty cool if some characters turned to each other as a Gladiator reference and said strength and honor. That would be fun. And have Captain America say, I understood that reference. That would be great. Infomaniac writes, I ship Thor and Carol. Do you? No. Although, like I've said this before, I understand it, though, because in all the decades that she was traveling space, Thor is probably the first person she's come across that is truly her equal. And Thor, for his 1,500 years of existence, Captain Marvel might be the first time he's come across his true equal. I could see there being an attraction, and they're both beautiful people. So I could see there being attraction, but no, I do not ship Thor and Carol. That Vaishnav Zin writes, where does MCU go after Endgame? Theories? Yeah. Spider-Man Far From Home. There you go. I answered the question. That's where it goes. Otherwise, it's impossible to say until we see the movie. But where the MCU goes after Endgame is Spider-Man Far From Home. Rusky9110 writes, hey gang, do you think the MCU has benefited at all from Disney buying Marvel, or are they largely unaffected? Oh, it's complete. No, we would not. The Marvel films wouldn't even exist if it wasn't for Disney. Marvel wouldn't be anywhere near their level of success were it not for the acquisition by Disney and Disney guiding the whole thing. Absolutely. Yeah, no question about it. There's a reason Marvel was going bankrupt before Disney came along and bought them up and put everything on the right path. Like a lot of people like to remind, oh no, Marvel have been great on their own. Marvel was going out of business. Marvel was on the brink of bankruptcy. You want to know why Spider-Man was with another studio, and Fantastic Four with another studio, and X-Men with another studio? Because Marvel had mismanaged themselves so badly that they had to start selling off the rights to their characters just to stay afloat. Ain't nothing like that happening under Disney. So yeah, no doubt about it. The acquisition by Disney is what made Marvel. Like, make no mistake. At least as far as the movie universe goes, it was the acquisition by Disney that made it all happen. Santez Henderson writes, I have an idea for a movie. It's called Galaxy Battles. The government goes evil and begins subjugating its people. A small group of freedom fighters looks to oppose them. Think it's a movie that can be made? I don't know, Santez. It sounds familiar. Sounds familiar, but I like the title Galaxy Battles. Star Wars, obviously. Alex Bosi writes, it's a lots of Batman... Oh, wow. Guys, watch your typing, please. It's a lots of Batman story book. Not all fallow continuity. I decide what story is in my personal Batman universe. The story I don't like are not a part of my main continuity. Wish people would do the same. Okay, what I think you're saying, Alex, is that regardless of what is out there with Batman, what is only the ones you like are the ones you count. That's fine, but it's not true. Like, I can say, if I wanted to, all I want to. Like, I hate the Star Wars prequels. That's fine. I can say that all I want, but they are part of Star Wars canon. I can close my eyes and plug my ears and go, no, they don't exist. They do exist. They are part of canon. They are really a part of the Star Wars story, no matter how much I may not want them to be. As such, the things that happen in those movies count towards what goes on in the overall universe. And it's funny, even though I don't like the prequels, I will fight and argue and defend that prequels should always be considered canon, because canon is canon. If you're saying they're canon, then they stay canon. You don't remove them from the timeline. You don't redux them. You don't retcon them. You made them. You said they're canon, so they're canon. They stay. But John, you don't like those movies. I know I don't like those movies, but they're canon. And therefore they stay. They stay. And so, yeah, I mean, you can look at it from a personal point of view, Alex, and go, well, I only consider the movies I like. And you can do that. And hey, whatever helps your fandom, your personal fandom, great. But it doesn't change the fact that those other stories are there and they are real and other people will consider them. So you got to keep that in mind. All right, Jason Dolan writes, I was shocked Drax was in the new Avengers. I get it. I was shocked Drax because he stood so still. He became invisible. Get it? Well done, Jason. Well done. Matt Phillips Reviews writes, using the established players, which character team-ups or interactions would you like to see in Endgame or in future MCUs? I don't care. I am trying more and more to get out of the habit of coming up in my head with what they should do moving forward. I mean, we all do it as film fans, but I've been trying the last year to get out of that habit. So, I mean, I really don't care because I never would have guessed going into Infinity War, never would have guessed that Thor and Rocket on screen together would be so great. I never would have guessed that one. Never in a million years. And yet that's the one they did. And that's the one that worked. So, yay, right? So I'm not going to play that game. I'm not going to play the game of which character. I don't care. I just want to see what the filmmakers do, and then not judge what the filmmakers do based on what my pre-existing expectations were, but rather just see it with as much of an open mind as possible. And look, there are endless combinations with these MCU characters that you could have, right? Endless numbers of combinations. And again, I can't say which ones would work and which ones wouldn't, because I never would have matched Thor with Rocket Raccoon. Never would have matched that up. And yet it was one of the best things of Avengers Infinity War, right? So all of them could work, all of them could be crap. It all depends on how well they're executed. But the possibilities, Matt, are completely endless for sure. All right, Desmond Wolf writes, do you think Endgame trailer will boost Captain Marvel's box office numbers? Honestly, here's the thing. It can't hurt. Now, of course, the Endgame trailer Desmond's talking about is the one that where, Captain Marvel's at the end of it with Thor standing face to face. Can't hurt. Can't hurt. But it's not like they went into, it's not like the trailer dropped and there was this huge action set piece with Captain Marvel fighting Thanos, right? Going blow for blow, like punch for punch with Thanos and blah, blah, blah. That could have definitely driven a lot more interest in Captain Marvel. Having her just appear, she didn't even say anything. She just stood there as Thor looked at her and said, I like this one. Again, having her in it can't hurt. Certainly couldn't hurt, but I don't know if it enjoyed that big of a boost just because she stood there for a second. You know what I mean? Dennis Le Compit writes, I really enjoyed Mary Poppins Returns because it's about saving the Banks kids, not about the deed. Love the show. On my way to Captain Marvel. I wish I did, Dennis. I wish I did. Or maybe you pronounce your name Denis. I really wish I did. I had high hopes for Mary Poppins Returns. Quite frankly, I was very disappointed with it. And I didn't see how it was about anything. She didn't save the Banks children. It's not like the original Mary Poppins where, the parents took the kids for granted. The kids didn't know their place and blah, 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 and where they loved and all that kind of stuff. In Mary Poppins Returns, we find a parent who is very focused on his children, loves his children. His children know that they're loved. They've lost their mother, but they know that they're loved by their father, and they know they're loved by their aunt, and they are loving in return. And all that. To me, this movie didn't even need to happen. And at the end of the day, Mary Poppins didn't even need to show up because the house gets saved anyway. Anyway, I was tremendously. But hey, man, that's why all film is subjective, because movies hit us all in different ways. And you watched Mary Poppins, and it had a better impact on you than it did on me. And that's awesome. I just wish I could share your appreciation for the movie because I was very much looking forward to that film myself. All right. Francisco Ariola writes, are Avengers on the same level as Star Wars? Thoughts? Nope. Talk to me in 40 years. Talk to me in 4 decades. If Avengers and the Marvel Cinematic Universe is still like the prominent pop cultural reference thing in 40 years, then let's have that conversation. In Star Wars time, the MCU's been around for the blink of an eye. For the blink of an eye. So talk to me again in 30 years. In 30 years, if the MCU is still as hyper relevant as Star Wars is, hey, then we can have a discussion about that. Right now, nope, not even close. Carlos Sosa writes, will you guys be attending Star Wars Celebration? Nah, I had the opportunity to go. I got invited, but quite frankly, Carlos, I got turned off by the Star Wars fandom like 6 months ago. I just got completely turned off by how toxic the whole thing had become, and it just didn't give me joy anymore. I still love Star Wars, but the Star Wars fandom just stopped giving me joy, and it just became a source of a headache. The toxicity in there just became unbearable, and I decided 6 months ago I wasn't going to go. I was just offered like a Lucasfilm VIP pass to go, and I still decided not to go. I'm perfectly happy being at home and being a Star Wars fan. But I mean, I hope everybody who goes has a blast. I went to Star Wars Celebration Orlando, had a marvelous time. So I hope everybody that's going has a great time. It just wasn't going to be for me this year. Raymond Flatterty writes, if the Russos knock Endgame out of the park, is it the greatest 4-movie streak in history? Oh, God, no. I want a non-MCU movie for them. Also, I hate the time travel Etch-a-Sketch gimmick. Hopefully, it's not that. Well, there's a whole lot in there, so I'll just focus on 1 or 2 things. I also hate the time travel gimmick. I'm not big on time travel being used in movies. To me, it's a cheap cop-out. We got a problem we don't know how we're going to fix. Just say time travel. Okay. Because if you think about it, there's no problem in any movie you can't solve with time travel. There's not a problem in any movie that if time travel were a possibility for your story, time travel fixes it. Just go back and stop the problem before it became a problem. Just go back before you made the mistake and stop the mistake. It's simple. It's a massive, massive cop-out. Now, that's not to say that time travel can't be used great. We've seen time travel used great. Star Trek, The Voyage Home, Back to the Future. You can use time travel great. But in general, I do hate when filmmakers use time travel as their escape card. It's like, we set up this big problem and we don't have a good narrative way to fix it. Time travel! The thing that fixes any problem. Let's just do time travel. It's lazy to me. It's lazy. Now, that doesn't mean that Endgame can't use it and that it won't be amazing. Yeah, but it'll be one of the exceptions if it is. So I hope there's not time travel involved because I find it a lazy man's narrative device in movies. But there are some examples of great use of it, and maybe Endgame could be one of them. So let's keep our fingers crossed. CET writes, 230 million opening weekend. I'm sure you're talking about, that's a decent guess. I think that's in the range. The current record for opening weekend for box office is, of course, Avengers Infinity War with 250 something. I think anywhere from 230 to 270 is a good range. Could it hit 300? Maybe. It seems hard, though, because with Avengers Infinity War, everybody went to go see it opening weekend. Everybody went to go see it opening weekend. And it made $250 million. Did they leave $50 million on the table? I don't think so. And as much as I like the last trailer, has this marketing campaign done anything to motivate people to go see it that weren't already motivated to go see it? I don't think so. Is this marketing campaign going to get out $50 million of people who didn't go to see Infinity War? Not the way I see it. These Endgame marketing trailers have been made specifically for people who are already excited about Avengers Endgame. And they've just been there to get us even more excited. And mission accomplished. But I don't know. 300 seems like a big stretch. But I think anywhere from 230 to 270. I think it can break the record. I think it can break the record. I also think 230 would be the second biggest opening in history. So 230 is not a bad guess. It's in the range, I think. Apex Caliber. Are Tony / Thanos opposites or very similar? Opposites. I mean, somebody brought up the other day that, well, both Thanos and Tony will do whatever it takes to accomplish their mission. Yeah, but you can say that about any hero in the MCU. Black Panther will do whatever it takes to safeguard Wakanda. Ant-Man will do whatever it takes to protect his daughter. Captain America will do whatever it takes to him to live up to his ideals. I mean, so you can say that about any of them, but that's where I think their similarities end. Mark Blazer writes, I'll call it right now. Loki returns in Endgame and yells, "Your savior is here." Hey, dude, I'd be down for that. I loved Loki's death, but I love Loki. I would love for him to be back, although I am so tired of Marvel fake killing everybody. And they've already done the fake kill thing on Loki like twice. They've already fake killed him twice. So I don't know how they pull it off again, which makes me assume that this Loki TV series that's coming is going to be a prequel series, but we don't know that for sure either. But man, if he just comes walking out of some vortex and goes, "Your savior is here," I'll get a good chuckle out of that, I got to say, Mark. Okay, Joshua Tarvin writes, it looks like Cap strapped his shield pretty tight. Looks painful. I wonder if he's using a shield as a tourniquet. Maybe, but to me it's just one of those grit, like bite down on your teeth and tighten it up and get ready for one last jump into the fight. I mean, I love that shot. That to me was the shot of the trailer. Strapping up the shield, gritting his teeth, that look of determination that only Captain America has, getting ready to bound back into action against whoever it is he's fighting at the moment. I loved it. My favorite moment of the trailer, and I can't wait to see it in context to see what that turns out to be. All right. Francisco Areola writes, what if Cap dies and ends up being a Skrull this whole time, causing Bucky to be the next captain and sets up the next big event? Kree Skrull War? Well, as I've said before, I don't believe Skrulls play any role. I said this before I saw Captain Marvel. I reemphasize it now. I do not believe the Skrulls play any role in Endgame whatsoever. Now, I said this before we saw Captain Marvel. I said, I believe there is a Skrull issue in Captain Marvel, and I believe the Skrull issue gets settled in Captain Marvel. And I don't believe we're going to see Skrull stuff, because as soon as they announced Skrulls were going to be in Captain Marvel, everybody started theorizing, which of the MCU characters are actually Skrulls already? Blah, blah, blah. And I said, I don't think so. I think there's an issue of Skrulls in Captain Marvel, and it gets settled. And after seeing the movie, I'm just feel more convicted of that. So I do not believe there's any Skrulls. No Skrulls. Luke Blackwell writes, Endgame have post-credit scene? What could it be? I mean, I believe it'll have a post-credit scene. What could it be? Could be anything. I mean, it's impossible to say when we haven't seen the movie. We don't know how this movie ends. We don't know what the state of the universe is in or how it gets to that state until we see the movie. So it could be absolutely anything. I mean, it could be as much as all the original Avengers again having shawarma again. I mean, it's possible, but literally it could be absolutely anything. But I do believe there will be a post-credit scene. Of what, though? It's impossible to say at this point. All right. Abraxas616 writes, a prayer for my people in Christchurch, New Zealand. Yeah, we talked about that the other day. It's our hearts, thoughts, minds, and prayers go out to everybody in New Zealand for the tragedy suffered out there. It was horrible. And, just the best of well wishes to all the folks out there, to everybody touched by that, for a speedy recovery to come back even stronger. So our best thoughts and prayers to you guys out there. Let's see. Giancarlo Loyotilli writes, opinions. Tony figures out and goes back in time to meeting with Strange and calls Steve this time. Avengers assemble and team fights Thanos on Titan. Here's the problem with that. Okay, if you have the ability to go back in time, why don't you go back in time way before that? Why don't you go back in time to when Captain America first comes across the Tesseract after getting it from Red Skull? Why not go all the way back there? Why not go back in time just before the beginning of the first Avengers movie and say, hey, Nick Fury, that Tesseract you're working on? Yeah, this guy Loki's coming. He's going to be working with this guy. Let's just figure out a way to destroy this thing. Or send it into permanent hiding that can never be found. Or whatever. Like, once you get into time travel, there's a billion different ways you can solve any problem. So, no, I don't think that's what's going to happen. But you know what, Giancarlo? The thing with, they could do anything. They could do anything. So I wouldn't bet money against it. I don't think that's what's going to happen. But I wouldn't bet money against it at this point. All right. San Salvatore writes, I got tickets to Good Morning America on March 22nd, and they announced the guest will be Mark Hamill. Oh, amazing. Over under 5%, he drops a title. Under 5%. There is, March 22nd? You probably mean April 22nd. You probably mean April because, no, it's not. No, it could still come up. March 22nd. I'm going to say no. Under 5% because we have Star Wars Celebration coming up in just a few weeks in April in Chicago. That's where they're going to announce the title. And that's where they'll drop the first teaser trailer. Of that, I have very little doubt. So, no, I don't think Mark Hamill's going to be the one to drop the... it would be great if he did. But I really think they're going to hold on to the title and the trailer until Celebration. At least that's where the smart money is. But anything can happen. Maybe he will. Phoenix... By the way, that's pretty cool. You got tickets to go see that, by the way. Phoenix Arising writes, I'd be okay with the Black Magneto, but what if they explain Magneto ages slower, not a mutant, not all mutant, big fan since AMC Closet days. But see, that's been brought up many times before, Felix. So then you're going to give him powers he doesn't have just for the sake of still saying he's still that kid from that concentration camp? That's never been part of Magneto's power. And to simply give him a brand new power that he's never had, all for the sake of saying, well, we don't want to make him anything other than what he was, so he's still that kid from the concentration camp. I don't know. That seems like having your priorities. I think for Marvel, that would be having their priorities in the wrong place. Like, really? You're going to even change their powers just for the sake of keeping that historical thing that they did. It's better to just keep him as he is and just say he comes from a different thing. Remember, all you need is a big event in human history, preferably the last 30 years, that really showcase the worst in humanity. Whether that has something to do with apartheid, whether that has something to do with the civil rights movement and some of the clashes and the horrible things that happened in America during that time, whether it's something that happens in Eastern Europe, whatever. There's lots of atrocities where you can say a child grew up in that and saw the worst of humanity, and it made them believe that humanity is a lost cause. And that the new evolution of humanity, Homo superior, is the true people to rule the world. It doesn't have to be the concentration camps. I love that old original story, but not at the sacrifice of just suddenly magically saying Magneto has a new mutant power that we've never said he has before, just for the sake of holding on to that. Again, Phoenix, you're not alone. I've heard lots of people suggest that, but to me, that doesn't work. It might be what they do. I won't be happy about it, but it might be what they do. Okay. Royce Freeman writes, do you think we will get a Punisher origin story in the MCU like he was in comics hired to kill Spider-Man? I doubt it. I do think we're going to get an origin of the Punisher, but I don't even know that Punisher is going to be in the MCU, to be honest with you. Right now, there's a lot of doubt because of what Bob Iger said, that Deadpool is probably not going to be in the MCU. He's going to be under a different banner. And because they want to be able to keep him R-rated, but they want to keep their R-rated stuff separate from the MCU. So I have a feeling there's a good chance we may not. I'm not saying we're not going to get Punisher in the MCU. I'm just saying I think there's probably a decent chance we don't. So, and even if we do, I don't think it'll be he's hired to kill Spider-Man. I don't think they'll do it that way. All right, not that it would be bad, but I don't think they will. Rufino Salazar Jr. writes, Marvel didn't move when Thor summons Stormbreaker because she knows he doesn't go for the head. Ha ha ha. Can't wait to see the movie. Very funny. That was a great effect too. Just the way they did that little blast of air in her hair to simulate the Stormbreaker rushing by her head. She didn't even blink. That was a pretty cool scene, but I like that. She knows that Thor doesn't go for the head. Well done. Well done. Matt Torres writes, in the QR suit, Quantum Realm suit, walk at the end of the trailer, they show Widow and Stark last. But if you really look at it, they are actually directly behind Cap. Any theory why they show them out of order? I don't think they did show them out of order. When you look, they showed multiple camera angles. And from different angles, it can look like in one angle, it can look like somebody's in the lead, but then from another angle, you see they're behind somebody else. So honestly, Matt, to me, they didn't show any of them out of order. They just simply showed it all from different camera angles, which gave you different perspectives. And then you got the wide shot, which kind of settled all that. So I don't think there was anything more to it than that, to be honest with you. All right. Senpaigar writes, oh, you're going to have to take this into the shop. Who's speaking? It's your conscience. We don't talk. Oh, that's Ant-Man talking to Iron Man in Civil War. I love that line. It's not wrong. You're going to take a shop. Who's speaking? It's your conscience. We haven't spoken much. We haven't talked a lot much these days. It's a great line in a great scene. The problem with that line is that it happens in like one of the all-time greatest scenes in comic book history, the airport scene in Civil War. And a lot of people just overlook it or are oohing and awing and laughing so hard at something that just happened that they miss it. And there's a lot of stuff in that fight scene that people miss, Senpaigar. And I think that line is something a lot of people still miss because they're still going, wow, over something they just saw. And I think there's a lot of those moments in that airport scene. I love that. Maybe the greatest single scene in comic book movie history. I love that airport scene. Okay. Kevin Zaragoza writes, Jim Carrey should be playing Carnage in Venom 2. Disagree. Look, if they had announced Jim Carrey, cool, but you don't know what Cletus Cassidy is going to be like in this movie. You don't know. You see, Jim Carrey sounds like a great casting, but he's only a great casting for the Cletus Cassidy you've got in your head and that you're imagining. For all we know, with the script, Jim Carrey's just not the right guy to play it. So if they went in a different direction, like with a Woody Harrelson, who is a spectacular actor, then that probably means the Cletus Cassidy that they wrote is better suited to a Woody Harrelson than a Jim Carrey. So, I find a lot of we as film fans do that. We try to cast something when we have no idea how they're writing the character, but we think we know who should be playing that part, even though we've never read the script and we have no idea what type of tone that character is going to have. So, I mean, look, Jim Carrey, good Canadian kid. I love Jim Carrey. But if they got Woody Harrelson, then he was the right guy to get for it, in my opinion. All right. Dan M. writes, just curious, is Jane, Natalie Portman, still in the MCU? Yeah, she's still there, but you're not going to see her again. You're not going to see her again. They explained the breakup, and you're just not going to see her. They explained, oh, Jane is now off in wherever, studying so-and-so. So yeah, she's in the world, but I don't think we're ever going to see her again. Caleb Kaiser writes, favorite Iron Man suit? Mine is Mark V suitcase suit from Iron Man 2. Mine is the Mark 2 or 3, whatever it is. The final Iron Man suit in the first Iron Man movie. Because unlike the magic nanotech, it was still had one toe dipped in the water of semi-realism. Just one toe dipped in the waters of semi-realism. But it was still a suit that he had to build and make, and you could get the powers of it, the limitations of it, all that kind of stuff. Now, Iron Man is just, it's a magic suit. It can do anything. Because of nanotech. And I hate that. Even though I love the character, I hate that they've done that. I much, much prefer the older Iron Man stuff. So I'm going to go with the Iron Man suit from Iron Man 1. Bats220 writes, trying to stay spoiler-free for Endgame, no trailers and stuff, aside from a few picks here and there that haven't really revealed anything. Wish me luck. Good luck, Bats, because that's going to be hard. Especially once we get into the final 2 weeks, because it's going to be, they're going to have TV spots all over the place. They're going to have trailers all over the place, little clips that they're going to be dropping online. But again, it's like every TV show you think you can watch, all of a sudden, boom, an Avengers trailers or an Avengers TV spot's going to be right there in front of your face. It's going to be difficult. So, hats off to you, sir, for trying it, and I hope you're able to do it. All I can do is wish you the best of lucks, Bats220. I hope you're able to pull it off. All right. Daniel Farley writes, hey, John, what scene would you love to see in Endgame? I want Thanos to use the Power Stone on Hulk for him to absorb it and become World Breaker Hulk. Again, Daniel, I try not to get into the create expectations in my head only to be disappointed later. I'd rather just see what the directors are giving us. Some of the scenes that they've already suggested that I'm looking forward to. Tony and Cap getting back together. That's, to me, is the one hope and expectation I'm really bringing into this movie. It's the thing they've been building up to for years, ever since Civil War. Tony Stark, Captain Steve Rogers, sitting down, bro hugging it out, and reuniting the Avengers. Reuniting themselves as the two figureheads of the MCU, and, really reuniting the Avengers at that point. That, to me, is a scene that they've hinted at and they've suggested we're going to see. Then that's the one I'm really looking forward to. As far as made-up scenarios, I try not to do that because I don't want to get sucked into that. But the one I'm absolutely looking forward to seeing is Steve and Tony. Okay, Kevin Ostrander writes, if the DCU gets their legs under them, do you think we could eventually get a Marvel versus DC movie? No. I think it would be cool for them. No, it wouldn't. It would be a glorified YouTube video. That's the thing. Like, that sounds like a great 5-minute YouTube video. It does not sound like, it's just way over stuff. There's too much there. It would make, like I said, a cool 5 to 10 minute YouTube fan video. That would be great. An actual feature film, no. And I've said that for years. Like, people have constantly brought up over the years to me the idea of Marvel versus DC. Nah, I don't think it would work. It would collapse under its own weight. It would make for a mess of a movie. It would make for an absolute mess of a movie. Nobody would be happy. And I just think it would not make a good film. I think it would make a great 5-minute fan video, but I do not think it would make a good film. And I felt that way for the last 5, 6, 7 years. This isn't new. So I would say no, absolutely not. I think it would be a huge mistake. And I don't think it'll ever happen. Mike Thompson writes, just realized that after Spider-Man Far From Home, we're not getting another comic book movie for 10 months. Really? Is it that long? The depression is setting in already. Well, wait a minute. When does... Hold a second. I'm getting a little confused here. Hold a second. Spider-Man Far From Home release date. Now, Spider-Man comes out July 5th. And I believe X-Men Dark Phoenix comes out before that. So that's July 5th. X-Men Dark Phoenix comes out June. So that comes out 1 month. Now, theoretically, New Mutants is supposed to come out on August 2nd. Supposed to. So theoretically speaking, we should be getting another comic book movie after Far From Home 1 month later with New Mutants. However, a lot of us, you guys, me, a lot of people are having severe doubts that this movie is going to get released on August 2nd. Apparently they have a ton of reshoots they wanted to do, and they haven't even started doing the reshoots. It's March. They were supposed to be doing reshoots in November. It's now March, and they still haven't started. So I got a feeling that's not happening. So you're right. You might be right, Mike. Like, maybe we'll still get New Mutants, and then we only have to wait a month after Far From Home. But if we're all right, and we're not going to get New Mutants on August 2nd, we could be in for a long winter. A long winter of no comic book movies for a while. So let's buckle up. Let's see. The Dawn writes, guessing you've never seen What If with Daniel Craig. That's his little romantic comedy. Yeah, I've seen it. I thought it was pretty funny. But yes, I don't like taking what if questions without questions. See, that's the thing. I don't mind taking questions that start with what if, as long as you end it with a question. Like, don't say, John, what if that cup was blue? That's not a question. The answer to that is, well, then the cup's blue. But if you write in, John, what if that cup was blue? Would that affect your enjoyment of the appearance of the cup? Or do you think that would make the cup easily more visible from a long distance? So ask what if, but then actually attach a question to it so it's not just a scenario. But yeah, there you go. Kevin Zaragoza writes, how do I become a lady man like you? 16 ex-girlfriends. Oh, come on. Most guys who have no idea what they're doing and no idea how to interact with girls, like that was me for, well, still to this day. When we're in high school, we have no idea how to properly interact with girls, no idea how to properly treat girls, no idea. We go through a lot of girlfriends because we just don't know what the hell we're doing. So I was certainly no ladies' man. Believe you me, certainly no ladies' man. Matt Brown writes, Avengers use quantum realm to fix what Thanos did and end up fighting versions of themselves from alternate realities from within the quantum realm. Possibly, but why? Why do they fight alternate? What's the purpose of that? What's the motivation? I mean, it's certainly a popular theory, Matt. A lot of people have been suggesting that. And could that happen? Yeah, it could. I don't see why. I don't see why it would work out that way. Or why, what's the motivation for them fighting each other? I don't get that either, but a lot of people seem to have that theory, Matt, so you're not alone in that. All right, Matt follows up with, some of the Avengers are wearing totally different costumes / outfits. You can say the characters get upgrades, but I think it's far more complex than that. Is it though? I mean, it might be, but let's face it, the characters' costumes change every movie. Captain America's costume has been different every movie. Iron Man has changed armors every movie. Ant-Man even changed his outfit. Black Widow's got a slightly different looking outfit every time. The only one who I think looked the same was Vision. That's about it. But they all look different every single time. Now, could this time be a little bit more complex than that? They could. But let's not pretend like through the 10-year history of the MCU, Thor and Iron Man and Cap have always had the same outfit, and now suddenly they look different. Nah, they've always gone through outfit changes between movies. So, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. It's a possibility, though. Jaron Morris writes, remember Yellow Fever from Supernatural where Big Badass Dean got ghost sickness and was scared of everything? Ooh. You know what, Jaron? I don't remember the episode. And it's not often you can bring up Supernatural stuff that I don't remember. But Supernatural has been on for 14 years. And there are many, many episodes I've only seen once. Because there's 14 years worth of episodes. Yeah, straight up, I don't remember that one. I don't remember which one that's from. Beeper5 writes, Avengers steal stones from past without being noticed, use them to undo Snap, and send them back in time when done. This would not mess up timeline. Except if they stole the stones from the past, then they don't have to undo what was done because they already stole the stones. Therefore, Thanos can never get his hands on them, or ideally he doesn't, and the snap never happened in the first place. Like, again, it's this whole thing about time travel becomes such one big diuretic mess. And you can say anything, right? But if they go back in the past and steal the stones, then they don't need to undo the snap because the snap never gets undone. And yes, the timeline is completely screwed up. So I don't know, possibility, but this is another reason why I find time travel to be the lazy man's cop-out. A totally lazy, uninspired, uncreative way for dealing with problems with your narrative. Time travel! Because that fixes every problem. There's not a single movie with a single problem that you can't fix with time travel. So to me, it's a real lazy man's thing, and it's a messy thing, and it creates inconsistencies and logic gaps, and like you're just pointing it out right there, Beeper Beeper. So that just kind of highlights why I don't want them to use time travel. Because, okay, why not just then travel back in time to when Thanos is born on Titan and kill that baby? Why not do that? Why not? Send Thor, Captain Marvel, and Hulk to Titan back in time when Thanos was born. If you can use time travel to do it, why not just do that and kill Thanos? There. Done. End credits. Movie opens with, Cap and Dr. Banner with a couple of Wakandan scientists, and they go, and Ant-Man has come out of the quantum realm. It's like, okay, we figured out we can time travel in the quantum realm. We're going to open this portal through the quantum realm, or use a ship, Nebula brings us, whatever, and you're going to go to Titan 400 years ago, however old Thanos is, and it's going to be 2 days after Thanos is born. You're going to kidnap in the middle of the night and kill the baby, and there, you've saved the galaxy. Movie's over in 5 minutes. Endgame is 5 minutes long. Why not do that? Again, I sound like I'm really pessimistic about Endgame, and I'm crazy excited about it. And if they use time travel, they may find a way to use it really, really great, like Star Trek The Voyage Home or like Back to the Future. I'm just going into it a little bit pessimistic because time travel is a lazy man's narrative device. Got a problem? We can't figure out a creative way to fix it? Okay, time travel. It bugs me. Anyway, we'll see what happens. Damian Davies writes, I think Nightmare on Elm Street 3 Dream Warriors is the best sequel. Bringing back the creator Wes Craven to write the script with Frank Darabont helps. I don't think I disagree. Here's my problem. I don't like any of the Nightmare movies other than the original Nightmare on Elm Street. I don't think any of them are any good other than the first one. I think the first one's great. I've never been all that happy with any of them. But I think I'll side with you on this, that out of all of them, probably Elm Street 3 is probably the best one. That's probably one I would watch again. You know what I mean? So I'll agree with you on that one, Damien. And you're right. Having Craven and Darabont, it doesn't hurt. Okay, Matt Brown writes, Russos will use quantum realm suits to distinguish between main reality Avengers and alternate reality Avengers. Again, going back to your thing earlier that they fight themselves. You still haven't told me why they're fighting each other? Like, that's what's the motivation of that? And we've already seen in Marvel movies all the heroes fighting against each other. We saw it in the first Avengers, we saw it in Avengers Age of Ultron, and we saw it a hell of a lot in Captain America Civil War. We've been, like, when it comes to having the Avengers fighting themselves, that's kind of a been there, done that, isn't it? Haven't they already played that card multiple times? Now, that being said, I still get a kick out of the idea of seeing Thor and Captain Marvel fight each other, or seeing Hulk and Captain Marvel fight. I get a kick out of that. But the whole thing about Avengers fighting Avengers, they've played that card multiple times. Do they go back to it again? Maybe. Possibly. But then again, I have to ask the question, if that happens, why do they fight each other? I'm not really clear on that. But, hey man, it's the Russos, it's Kevin Feige, it's Marvel. Who knows what they're going to do? We're going to get our answers soon enough, though. I just kind of feel we're going to be happy no matter what it is. All right, Yellow Does It writes, you've convinced me. Uh-oh, what did I convince you of? I see Thor, Captain Marvel, and Professor Hulk bullying Thanos, but he has no fight left because he won, and believe it can't be undone. I'm not buying into that theory. It's the theory I know I proposed, but I'm not buying into it completely yet. What he's talking about is, I have this theory that's kind of a piecemeal of what other people suggested too, so I can't take credit for it. But this one theory that I keep batting around is that in the first act of the film, Thor and maybe Captain Marvel go to wherever it is Thanos is, where he went to retire, in an attempt to get him to either get the gauntlet or get him, Thanos, to undo what he did with the snap, only to find out that it can't be undone. either because it's not reversible or because, as the Russo brothers said in the director's commentary of Infinity War, the gauntlet's been permanently damaged. So for whatever reason, they get there, they have a tussle with Thanos, and it comes down, Thanos just lets them know it can't be undone. Even if he wanted to, which he doesn't, it can't be undone. Now they got to go back to Earth, and now everybody's really depressed. Because that was their one shot. And then Scott Lang shows up. Hey guys, Quantum Realm, we may have other options. I mean, maybe, I don't know. But it's a theory I'm buying more and more into. I don't know if it'll actually turn out. I doubt it will, but it'll be interesting to see. All right. Matt Brown writes, I bet some shots of the characters in the trailer were actually scenes with alternate reality Avengers, and we just didn't realize it. Marvel playing with us. It's possible. I mean, you really are invested in this alternate reality Avengers thing. Okay, cool. And look, if, and I don't believe it, but if there is alternate reality Avengers going on there, then it's totally feasible that one or two of the shots that we see in the trailers are of the alternate reality Avengers. It's totally possible. Totally possible. And actually, not just possible, I say likely. If this movie involves alternate reality Avengers, then it is not only possible, Matt, I will say it is likely that a couple of those shots that we see will probably be of Avengers from those alternate realities. Now, whether or not there's alternate reality Avengers, that we're going to have to wait and find out. All right. Dave Tapia writes, rank your interest in upcoming films after Endgame. I don't like doing rankings, but I will tell you that, you know, we only know of one that is 100% officially coming. That's Spider-Man Far From Home. They haven't officially announced green light of any other film. Now, we do know that they've hired the director for Doctor Strange to come back and do Doctor Strange 2. We do know that they've already hired the director of Black Panther to come back and direct Black Panther 2. Coogler's coming back for Black Panther 2. We know they've hired a director for a Black Widow movie, but they haven't greenlit it yet. So there's a bunch of those, and I'm curious for all of them. But as of right now, the only one we know for sure, there have been some talks about maybe Eternals. The only one we know 100% for sure is Spider-Man Far From Home. So I will say the one I am most looking forward to is Spider-Man Far From Home. Okay. Django19 writes, personally love Black Panther more than Captain Marvel and put it on par with Infinity War. If you could watch any sequel from the MCU coming up now, which one? Ooh. Spider-Man Far From Home. I mean, don't get me wrong. If they happen, I am dying to see Black Panther sequel. I'm dying to see the Doctor Strange sequel. But I am very stoked to see the next Spider-Man movie. So I'm going to go Spider-Man on that one, Django. I'm going to go Spider-Man. And I agree. I think I like Black Panther more than Captain Marvel too. I liked it more than Captain Marvel. I still love Captain Marvel. I don't know if I put Captain Marvel, I'll tell you right straight up, I don't put Captain Marvel on the same level as Infinity War. But I put it on the same level as like Guardians, Doctor Strange, Ant-Man, movies I love, but they're not quite on that upper top shelf of MCU films. That's where I put them personally. Okay. Johnny5619 writes, Fishburne plus Ghosts get Ant-Man out of the quantum realm. That's an interesting theory. I'm surprised I haven't heard that one before. That's a good one because everybody's been speculating, understandably so, about, hey, wait a minute, how on earth does Scott get out of the quantum realm? How do you get out? Does the ant playing the drums come and get him out? Does he figure it out himself over time? Fishburne and Ghost, or just one of the two. Track him down and figure it out. I'll tell you what, John, I don't know. I haven't heard Fishburne's in this at all or anything like that, but I love the theory. That would make sense. I like it. Let's see if they actually do that. Bennett Hardy writes, should I watch all Lotga RN haven't since 8? I'm sorry, Bennett. I have no idea what you're asking, man. My apologies. Sveen86 writes, Goose and Thanos clearly met before he's got a big claw mark. I've seen so many memes of that, Sveen86, online because, you know, he's got those 3 scars. Thanos does. I remember when we first saw those scars on Thanos' face going into Infinity War. So many people legitimately lost their mind saying, confirmation that Wolverine is in Avengers Infinity War. And it was like, oh, God. And it just didn't matter. They wouldn't listen. Nobody would listen to guys. It's like, guys, Wolverine is not Infinity War. You know that. You know. They just got these scars, and who could do that? But adamantium scars. They're telling you it's Wolverine. I had so many people insisting to me Wolverine was in there, and their proof was those scars on Thanos. And now it's proof of Goose. Wouldn't it be funny, though, if at the end of the day we found out those scars on Thanos are from a Flurkin? That would be pretty funny. Okay, Keith Jarrett writes, of all the MCU directors, who is or was the most knowledgeable of the comic books? My guess is Whedon or Gunn. Oh, 100% it's Joss Whedon. 100% it's Joss Whedon. And Gunn, I'm sure, very knowledgeable. Peyton Reed is also a big Marvel comic book guy. I'm sure the Russos read the comic books too, but none of them had the psychotic passion growing up, pouring over every single page of every comic he could get his hands on like Joss Whedon did. I'm not saying Joss Whedon is the best director the MCU's ever had. Maybe he is, but that's not my point. My point is that you're asking which one was the most knowledgeable just about the pure comics. Oh, that was Joss Whedon. That was Joss Whedon for sure. Apex Caliber writes, Kevin Hart should get a second chance if Gunn does. Well, they're completely different situations. First of all, Kevin Hart doesn't need a second chance. Kevin Hart's career is going just great, thank you very much. And he's got Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle 2 is coming out. That's going to be another big hit for him. He's got that, the one he's got with Bryan Cranston did very well for a film of that size and that budget. That did great. It's not like Kevin Hart is sitting in some oblivion somewhere, some kind of purgatory, hoping to get another chance. No, it didn't do anything to his career. He's perfectly fine. So those are two very, very different scenarios. Aaron H. writes, do you think that Hank Pym is the second smartest MCU character behind Shuri? Ooh. I'd say yes. I think he's smarter than Tony. I think he was smarter than Tony when he was Tony's age, and now he's only older and has gotten even smarter. I've never thought of it in those terms before, Aaron, but I will go out on a limb and say yes. I think Hank Pym is probably the second smartest person in the MCU after Shuri, which all the producers in the MCU said Shuri is the smartest person in our universe, so there you go. There's no arguing it. If the people who run that universe say the smartest person in our universe is that person, then you can complain all you want, but that person is the smartest person in your universe. Shuri, according to the people who run Marvel, is the smartest person in the MCU. I mean, she's smarter than Bruce. She's smarter than Tony. She's smarter than anybody. But second most? Yeah, I'd never even thought of that, Aaron, but I would go, I think you're right, Hank Pym. All right, where are we at here? Okay, DMV fan 123 writes, WTF are the Giants doing trading Odell? I get it. Odell Beckham was traded by the New York Giants. But here's the thing. I've been saying this the whole time, DMV. They had Odell and they sucked. It wasn't working. Sometimes you just need to mix it up. If you can get rid of him now, bring in some other pieces of the puzzle, maybe you get a better team. But, they've had Odell Beckham for the last couple of seasons and they've sucked. So it's not like having Odell on the team is the key to being good, because they had Odell and they sucked. So I'm good. Look, when your team is that bad for that long and it goes for a couple of years, you got to mix it up. And sometimes that means you got to, if your most tradable piece is your best player, trade the best player, because clearly building around that one player wasn't working. So why not try something else? Mr. Hero 17 writes, Thanos versus Hulk round 2. Do you expect a Hulk to be more strategic this time? I don't even know that we're going to see them fight again. As a fan, would I get a kick out of seeing that? Sure, of course I would. I would love to see Hulk and Thanos fighting again. Maybe a little bit more even this time, where Thanos isn't rocking a power stone. Maybe a little bit more of an even fight. But I'd be down for it. But, let's be very clear here. There's been nothing in the trailers or marketing that suggests we're going to see Thanos versus Hulk again. We already saw that fight. I would love it, but I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Jalen Robinson writes, Captain Marvel Retcons kind of suck. There are no retcons. Captain Marvel retcons kind of suck. There are no retcons. Nothing was retconned. There's only been one Captain Marvel movie, and it didn't retcon anything. So you have to be more specific, Jalen, because there were no retcons in Captain Marvel. And I'm cool with retcons. The retcons can be actually very creative. It's neither a good nor a bad thing that I don't see any retcons in Captain Marvel. That's neither good nor bad. I'm just saying I don't see any retcons in it, so I'm not quite sure what you're referring to. Krieger119 writes, the movement for someone to lose everything. Okay, the movement for someone to lose everything because of past mistakes without any sort of redemption is what's referred to as cancel culture. Okay, now I see what you're saying, because somebody brought up in a super chat the other day, it might have even been you, Krieger, it might have been somebody else, the whole idea about cancel culture. And I said, I'm not familiar with the term, and I wasn't familiar with the term. But the movement for someone to lose everything because of a past mistake without any sort of redemption is what is referred to now as cancel culture. Got it. Thank you for the... See, I learned something new every day during this show from you guys. Thank you for sharing that with me, Krieger. I appreciate that, man. That certainly sheds a lot more light on the question that was asked before, too. So thank you about that. David Sickles writes, just like Havana, isn't that what... I mean, it's not important, so it's not a spoiler, but I believe that's what Fury says to his boss in the elevator, just like Havana. I believe. I could be wrong, but I think that's what he says. Dim-Sum05. Ant-Man is a top 3 to me. Love that movie so much. Ant-Man 2 was so forgettable to me, which bummer me out. I think I like Captain Marvel more, to be honest. I'm really close between... Well, no, I did like Captain Marvel more than Ant-Man 2. And I like Ant-Man 2, but I did not like it as much as Ant-Man 1. Ant-Man 1 was the better film. And I kind of put Captain Marvel on the same level as Ant-Man 1. And therefore, yeah, I like Captain Marvel better than Ant-Man 2 as well. There's a lot of MCU films I like more than Ant-Man 2, but I still liked Ant-Man and the Wasp. There's a lot of good things going for it, and I enjoyed it. But it was a step down from the first Ant-Man, because that first one was so great. All right. Jesse Keller writes, been a fan since the Man of Steel AMC review. Thank you so much, Jesse. First, what is your favorite Marvel comic event and why? Second, how would you want to see it portrayed in the MCU? Well, I've said all the time, my absolute favorite storyline ever in comic history is the Age of Apocalypse in the X-Men franchise. That, to me, is the greatest story ever told in the comic books. I love the Age of Apocalypse. And it starts with that short series with Legion, which leads into the Age of Apocalypse. And then that whole led into Onslaught that came afterwards. But the Age of Apocalypse to me is just the greatest thing ever. I love that series so much. And how would I want to see it done on screen? I don't know that you can. All I know is that the X-Men Apocalypse movie was pretty much a letdown. That was pretty much a letdown to me. But how would you do it? I don't know. I mean, that's something that you can't, because for those of you who know Age of Apocalypse, you can't just jump in and make an Age of Apocalypse movie. You'd have to do 2 or 3 new X-Men movies. Then maybe you could do an Age of Apocalypse, and then everybody would understand what's going on. But it would be tough, Jesse. It would be tough. All right. Matt Phillips Reviews writes, using the established players, which character interactions would you like to see in Endgame or in future MCU films? Same thing I said before. I really don't have any. I'm just down for seeing whatever interactions and combinations they want to throw at us. Again, because if you had told me in advance, hey, what do you think about a Rocket and Thor interaction? I'd say that's probably one of the lamer ones you could do, but it's maybe the best interaction I've ever seen in a Marvel film. That scene between Rocket and Thor, as Thor is counting down all the things that he's lost, is one of the best scenes in the history of the MCU to me. I just love it. And I never would have guessed a Thor-Rocket combination would do that. So, again, Matt, any combination of these, you've got almost limitless combinations you could have, and all of them have potential to be really, really good. And since I never would have called Thor and Rocket, I'm not going to call any. I'm just going to say, you know what? I'm just going to go into Endgame and just enjoy whatever combinations they give us. Whatever combinations they give us, I'm just going to enjoy. I have a feeling one of them is going to be Nebula and Black Widow. I don't know why I think that, but I kind of do. All right. Suthius86 writes, so when can we expect a trailer for the epic adventure that is Yogo the Janitor? Looking forward to it. Maybe I'm having a brain freeze through this. I don't know what we're talking about. Sorry, man. Eric Collins writes, do you think the DCU wants to really find their footing first before they go back to Superman? Possibly. Possibly. You know, all we know is that Warner Brothers doesn't have any plans for Superman right now. They gave James Gunn the option. They said to James Gunn, hey, James, look, we'll even let you do Superman if you want. We got no plans for Superman. If you want to do Superman, you can do a Superman movie. Just come on over to Warner Brothers. And he opted for Suicide Squad instead, which I'm very excited for. Suicide Squad is basically the DC equivalent to Guardians of the Galaxy. I think he's going to do something ridiculously cool with Suicide Squad. I cannot wait to see that. But I don't know, maybe. Look, right now they're finding themselves in a post-Superman DCEU where they made a bunch of films with Superman and they didn't have success. They had some financial success, but as a film franchise, it wasn't a success overall. So now they've moved on from Superman. And we got Wonder Woman, we got Aquaman, and we got Shazam. And, you know, it's going to be interesting. I think they're still kind of feeling their way out. It'll be interesting to see how they handle Superman in the future. I just hope they do him right. And I loved Henry Cavill Superman. Man of Steel is the best movie the DCU's made so far. It's one of the best comic book movies ever, in my opinion. All right, Johnny West writes, how much did Avengers Infinity War need to break even? Well, it was one of the more expensive movies of all time. I think it clocked in at about $250 million. There's this fairy tale going around online. Did you hear it cost $500 million to make it? No, it didn't. It cost about $250 million. So just brush away that fairy tale whenever you hear it. But it was one of the more expensive movies ever made at $250 million. You got to they marketed the shit out of that movie. So probably look in the neighborhood of 150 to 200 million just in marketing. So now you're looking at around, let's go at the top end, $450 million it costs to make and market that film. Okay, so now you take however much box office it makes minus 30% or 33%, roughly a third, roughly. It's not exact science, it's just a rough rule of thumb. So I don't know if they made, let's see, if they made $600 million at the box office, that would have made, I'll say about $700 million. As one of the most expensive movies ever made, and certainly probably one of the most expensive marketing campaigns of all time, I'll say maybe it needed around $700 million to break even, which it almost tripled, so they're very happy. But yeah, my guess would be around $700 million. Again, not an exact science, just basic thing, but I'm going to guess around $700 million. Just because I don't think any other movie in history has spent as much on marketing, and they certainly spent a whole hell of a lot on making the film, so I'm going to guess about $700 million. All right. Where are we at here? Ladislav Mesanik writes, rewatched that Thor and Rocket scene and just realized Rocket did lose everything. He did, didn't he? And you know what? We see him just losing Groot again, and he's just, no. I mean, your heart broke as he's saying, no. And he doesn't even realize yet that Peter's gone, Gamora's gone, Drax is gone, Mantis is gone. He doesn't even realize that yet. He doesn't even realize that at that point. And you're right. Other than maybe Nebula, he's lost everything except his new friend, the Pirate Angel, Thor. Jared Murray writes, Dream Endgame post-credit scene. John Krasinski as Reed Richards meets Happy Hogan in some building, talking about Reed buying the building they're in. The camera pans out and they're in Avengers Tower. That's been a huge theory that, you know, because of course in Spider-Man Homecoming, we learned that Tony Stark was selling Avengers Tower. Could that be a great new Baxter building? Could that be the new home of the Fantastic Four? Maybe. I don't think that's what they had in mind. But it is possible, but we're not going to see anything Fantastic Four related in the post-credit scene. We're not going to see anything Fantastic Four or X-Men or anything like that in there. It's not impossible, and it'd be pretty damn cool if it did. And that scenario you're painting out, Jared, is pretty damn cool. So nothing's impossible, but I think it's highly unlikely, unfortunately. All right. Colby Harris writes, Jar Jar, if the real leader of Jar Jar is the real leader of the First Order? Yeah, wouldn't that be hilarious? Misa Jar Jar Binks. Justified Fun writes, is the MCU bigger than Star Wars? Again, no. Come back to me and talk to me in 30 years and see what state the MCU is in 30 years from now. If 30 years from now the MCU is as popular as Star Wars is today, then we can have a conversation. Until then, not even worth talking about. Richard Fairhurst writes, I Want You Back song at Game of Thrones end. Game of Thrones. Guardians of the Galaxy end has new meaning. Yeah, I guess it does. Is it weird that when I first heard I Want You Back, I'm thinking of that Backstreet. Is it Backstreet Boys that sing I Want You Back? 'Cause I want you back. Da, 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 da. That's how they sound to me at any rate. Maybe. Bats220 writes, I just wish they used Immigrant Song when Thor came to Wakanda, though. It's still awesome nonetheless. I'm glad they didn't. To me, that would have been overdoing it. It was great when they used it in Thor Ragnarok. They were pushing it a little bit by using it twice, but it still worked great. I think to do that now in Infinity War would have been pushing it. It would have felt a little gimmicky to me at that point. But it is, I mean, it's great, and it gets the blood pumping as Thor's rocking out with the lightning and everything. Yeah, but I think that moment, the score worked better. I think the score worked better. It fit into the scene more. It didn't jar you out of the scene. I think if all of a sudden they started playing Immigrant Song, it would have pulled you out of it a little bit. And again, it would have been going back to the well too many times for me. But I do love that in Ragnarok when because now whenever I hear Immigrant Song, all I can think about is Thor Ragnarok. All I can think about is Thor Ragnarok when I hear that song because it's so well placed. Johnny West writes, over under 10% Ashley Whalen is in Endgame. Unfortunately, I can break a scoop here because I do have insider information. I can confirm Ashley Whalen does not appear in Endgame. Sorry to break it to you guys, but it's an exclusive here to the John Campea YouTube channel. Ashley Whalen is not in Endgame. Damian Davies writes, Batman 89 won the Oscar for Best Production Design. Did it? I didn't. Oh, let me look that up. Batman IMDb. Batman 1989. It did. And you know what I didn't realize? It wasn't nominated for anything else. It was only nominated for one thing, which was Best Art Direction and Set Direction, and for Anton Furst and Peter Young, and it won the only category it was nominated in. I didn't even realize that. But now that you think about it, yeah, that movie totally would deserve Best Art Direction. That was a great looking movie. Thanks for pointing that out, Damien. I totally didn't realize that. Kevin Campbell writes, apparently Transformers producer Lorenzo de Bonaventura confirmed a sequel to Transformers last night along with Bumblebee 2. No, he did not. Let's be clear. What Lorenzo de Bonaventura did say is that he's developing one, but that is a massive universe difference from a confirmed one. 1,000 movies go into development that only like 5 or 6 actually get made. Tons and tons of movies that never get made go into development. Tons and tons of studio films go into development that never get made. He did talk about, we talked about on the John Campea Show earlier today, which I think is the most idiotic idea ever. You're finally repairing the image of Transformers with a great Bumblebee movie, and now you want to introduce that shitfest of a Transformers series you were doing before. Idiotic. I gotta believe that cooler heads will prevail and Paramount will never greenlight that. I gotta believe Paramount will never greenlight that. But anyway, yeah, just to be clear, he did not confirm a sequel to Transformers last night. He just said he was developing one. But again, for every one movie that actually makes it in front of the cameras, there's 100 that don't, that were in development at some point. So there is a big difference between those things, Kevin. All right. Django19 writes, Le'Veon Bell to the Jets. Your thoughts? Nice pickup for the Jets. I'm not going to lie, though. I was kind of hoping he would end up in Cleveland. I was hoping he would end up on the Browns. Man, first of all, the Browns, picking up Odell Beckham, which is great, with a quarterback that is young, that has a powerful arm, that has a high football IQ. The Browns are going to be in the playoffs this year. There's some people going, no, they're Super Bowl contenders. No, they're not. But they're going to be in the playoffs this year. And they're just going to be 2 years removed from a winless season. How incredible of a turnaround is that? Luke Blackwell writes, John, how do you think they will wrap up TWD? I'm guessing that's The Walking Dead. I have no clue because I haven't even watched The Walking Dead. I'm not a big Walking Dead fan. I was caught up to the end of last season, but I haven't seen a single episode this season. So I have no concept of how they're going to wrap it up. None at all. Emmanuel Urquhart writes, like the sun, we will live to rise. Like the sun, we will live and die, and then ignite again. Soundgarden, hashtag Avengers Road to Endgame. Poetic. I'm not quite sure what the reference is, but it's very, very poetic, Emmanuel. Edgar Navarro writes, finally saw A Simple Favor, and it's so good. Oh my God, A Simple Favor is so good. One of my biggest pleasant surprise movies of the year. Directed by Paul Feig, starring... why do I always forget the girl's name from Pitch Perfect? And she was in The Accountant with Ben Affleck. And now I just got to look it up because it's completely bothering me. Hold a second. So, because... Come on, load up. Because it's got Blake Lively in it. Who is, why won't this load? Ryan Reynolds, there it is. Anna Kendrick. Why do I always freeze on Anna Kendrick's name? I don't know. I'm always freezing on her name. Anyway, movie is so freaking good. Like, it's crazy good. And it, like, switches. It has, like, 8 different genres in it that switches between every, like, 20 minutes. It's nutty good. I enjoyed that movie so much. I'm glad you had a chance to see it, Edgar. John Campea writes, Endgame at CinemaCon, unlikely. Infinity War did, but same day as world premiere, April 23rd. No screenings before. Premiere is week after this time. Never say never, but yeah, look, there are things against it. The one reason I believe there is a chance that they're going to screen Endgame at CinemaCon is because it just so happens that this year, CinemaCon is also honoring the Russo brothers, who are going to be there, with the Visionary Directors of the Year award. Because every year CinemaCon hands out a bunch of arbitrary awards, right? And they're going to give one out to the Russo brothers this year. So that's the one reason I think there's a chance. Now, also a high chance that it's going to be Aladdin. It could very well be Aladdin. But I'm holding out for hope that's going to be Endgame. I know it's only a certain shot, but I'm still holding out the hope that it's going to be Endgame, so we're going to have to wait and see. I'm Upset writes, over under 30%, Joker teaser is released the week of Shazam. Well, we're getting fairly close. So we'll be in April, so May, June, July, August, September. We'll be 6 months out from Joker. Yeah, we'll be getting into the reasonable window for when you should put a first trailer out. I'll take over 30%. I'm not saying it's likely, but if you're going to give me an over under 30, I'll take the over on 30. Gabe Schembarger says, please tell me Ashley started The Flash. I don't think she started watching The Flash yet, as a matter of fact, but I'll let you guys know when she does. Akshu Davala writes, did you notice in the white suits in Endgame that Rhodey had an arc reactor, but Stark didn't? What could they say about the use of Iron Man's suits? Also, totally love your show. Keep rocking. Thank you so much. Remember, though, now, Tony's suit is all nanotech. It just magically appears. So it really doesn't matter. Rhodey is rocking his War Machine armor. Tony is just in a Quantum Realm suit. He can summon out his Iron Man armor through the magic nanotech whenever he wants. But so he's got his arc reactor in his chest, and it's under the breastplate of the Quantum Realm thing. So that's how I kind of interpreted that, Akshu, I should say. All right. Sky Amazing Guy writes, watching Shazam this Saturday. Effing pump. Me too, man. I got myself 6 tickets, taking me and a bunch of friends. I'm going to go to the 4 o'clock screening, 4 o'clock in the afternoon screening of Shazam. Very stoked. Very, very stoked. Cannot wait to see this thing. I'm just giddy. I think that ever since they announced Zachary was going to be playing the lead, I got really excited about that because it told me the tone they were going to have. The trailers looked awesome. Cannot wait for Shazam. This is going to be great. TNS93 writes, would we get a Jedi versus Sith trilogy? I doubt it. I mean, it would be kind of cool, but I doubt it. Frost 1977 writes, my one fear for Endgame is them killing Cap. That would ruin the film for me and a lot of my interest in the MCU. First non-Cap film I saw was Ant-Man, just like. And then Frost writes, a DC without Superman. I cut back, only saw Ant-Man one time instead of 3. Cap is number 2 behind Superman. They're the draw for me. I never read comics, Reed and Superfriend. Okay, so anyway, a lot of ideas thrown in there. Frost, get used to it. They may kill him. And it might be perfect for the story. Right? Like, I remember when they killed Ned Stark in Game of Thrones. My first thought is, well, I'll never watch this show again. He was the only reason I watched the show. He was my favorite character in the show. But the story they built around his death and what that triggered, it became very interesting. Remember, stories do not serve the characters. Characters serve the stories. And I don't think Cap's going to die, but if he does, it'll be to serve the story. And if it does, and it does it well, then maybe you'll really enjoy it. But you don't just keep a character alive just for the sake of character alive. If his death serves the story, then that's what you do. It's going to be interesting to see how they play it out, though. I am quite curious. A lot of different theories surrounding Captain America going into this movie. All right. Jeffrey Podolsky writes, the gun situation came on the heels of the Roseanne thing. I think that was the reason for the quick reaction on Horn's part. I don't think it was the reason, Jeffrey, but I think you're absolutely right that was a contributing factor. I think if the Roseanne situation hadn't just happened, that Alan Horn wouldn't have had such a knee-jerk reaction to, oh, I got to respond right now. I can't take a couple of days to think about it. I can't take some time and confer with a bunch of people. I got to say something right now. Or we're going to fire James Gunn and we're never going to work with him again. Does the fact that the Roseanne thing had just recently happened, I think that's a contributing factor. Not the reason, but definitely a contributing factor for sure. I think you're absolutely right about that. All right, Emmanuel writes, listen to the podcast today. Awesome work, guys. Thank you so much, Emmanuel. For those of you who don't know, I've been pumping this thing like crazy. Me and Rob and Olympic gold medalist and film fanatic Cody Miller, we've started a new podcast that you can get on iTunes, all your favorite podcast apps, wherever you listen to podcasts, called Best Movie, Worst Movie. Do me a favor, guys. Go find it, subscribe to it, rate it, comment on it, do all that good stuff. And we had a great opening, and we're just so thrilled with the support you guys are showing. So thank you so much, man. I appreciate so much, Emmanuel, that you listened to it. And we've got a new episode coming this week. So thanks for that. All right. Frost, 1977 writes. We already went over that. Okay, great. Frost then continues, Cap dying would be like John Wayne in The Cowboys. I can't watch it. Scored by John Williams, by the way. Only part I can watch is Bruce Dern dragged behind a horse. I mean, but wouldn't that... Again, I would encourage you, Frost, not to put the character in front of the story. Don't put the character in front of the story. Because, look at Superman Quest for Peace. You had great character, but it was a bad story, and everybody knows the movie's trash. Even though it had Christopher Reeve's Superman. You got to put the story first. So if they kill Captain America, see how it fits into the story. See what it does for the story. See how does it benefit, and then make a decision afterward. I wouldn't write it off just because your favorite character dies. See how they handle it, and let's see how that all turns out. Again, I don't think he's going to die, but he might. He might. Okay, Phoenix Arasing writes, Endgame theory. Thanos beats Avengers, says, I'm the strongest. Bruce's eyes turn green. He turns to the Hulk, then Hulk yells, Hulk strongest there is. Well, first of all, I'll have a little bit of a joygasm if that would happen. Somebody, anybody, even Thor or otherwise, Thanos or otherwise, proclaims himself strongest. Hulk comes out, Hulk strongest there is. Ah, the skies open, the angels sing. Ah, it would be amazing. I do not think that's going to happen. I don't think we're going to get a Hulk Thanos round 2, although I would love it if they do. And let's see. But yeah, that would be pretty fun, but I don't think it's going to play out like that. It's a little bit too on the nose. I don't think it's going to play out like that. All right. Adam K. writes, better trilogy, Apes or How to Train Your Dragon? Ooh. The third How to Train Your Dragon is better than the third Apes movie. The first How to Train Your Dragon is better than the first Ape movie. The second Apes movie is better than the second Dragons movie. I don't know, man. It's close. These are two marvelous trilogies. Marvelous trilogies. You know what? I might change my mind later. For now, I'm going to say How to Train Your Dragon. It's really good. I mean, so is the Apes trilogy, but Dragon was really, really good. Okay, let's see here. Mr. Spooky Spare writes, I'm going to go see Shazam at March 23rd. I'm so excited for the early Fandango screening. When are you planning to see the film? I'm going to see it as well. There was a press screening that I skipped, but this one's coming up, 23rd, AMC Burbank 16. I'm going to be there with a bunch of my friends. Cannot wait to see this movie, man. I am so stoked, Mr. Spooky, for this movie. So stoked. All right, Chris Hamilton writes, Hey, John, over under 10%. The highest grossing film of 2019 will not be a Disney property? Well, I'm not going to say 0, but I'll take under 10%. Because look, your three most likely candidates are Lion King, in no particular order. Lion King, Avengers, Endgame, Star Wars Episode 9. It's going to be one of those three. And all three of those films are Disney films. So I'm not going to say 0, never say 0, but I'm going to take under 10%. Under 10%. I mean, I think it's a 98% certainty, a 98% that the number one film of the year will be a Disney film. All right. Apex Caliber writes, Trolls boycotting Endgame over Captain Marvel, saying MCU is dead. Of course they are. Let them keep talking. I don't care. At this point, with the Captain Marvel needs 750 to break even. No, it doesn't. Captain Disney's buying all their own tickets for the movie. No, they're not. But you know what? It was frustrating for a while, but you just get to a level of ignorance that the ignorance just becomes entertaining to watch. So I don't want them to stop. I really, at this point, I just don't want them to stop because it's just become entertaining to see. It's just entertaining to see. So yeah, let them squeak and squawk all they want, whatever. Alfonso Uribe writes, Thank you, Robert Meyer Burnett, for calling Bob Iger and getting James Gunn back. That's right. Not many people know. It was all about that time on the show that Rob picked up his phone, got him. And by the way, just to be clear, it was Alan Horn who hired him back. It was Alan Horn who hired him back. Bob Iger's going to support whatever Alan Horn wants to do because he respects Alan Horn that much. And it's Alan Horn's department to run. But yep, you can thank Robert Meyer Burnett for that. Tumelo writes, would you recommend film school if I have the money? If you want to get into filmmaking, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. There is no downside to increasing your knowledge. Now, am I saying here definitively that the only way you can get into movies is if you go to film school? I'm not saying that. But is it a benefit? Yeah. So if you have the money and if that's what you really want to do, then absolutely I would recommend film school. Anyway, Miko Suyayan writes, Hey guys, inside info for Rob, Moon Knight appearing in Endgame. Kidding, thanks. If you want to see the biggest joygasm in the world out of somebody, have Moon Knight pop up in Endgame. Rob would lose his frickin' mind, Miko. Would lose his freaking mind. All right, Raven 4152001, my Endgame theory, Goose eats Thanos, the end. I've seen a number of people say that. I'm not going to say why, because, Captain Marvel spoilers, but wouldn't that be hilarious? I mean, a lot of people would be mad that would be anticlimactic, but it would also, now that I'm thinking about it, be really hilarious. Shannon Gates C writes, what's better, Wyatt Earp or Tombstone? For me, that's kind of easy, Tombstone. I think Wyatt Earp's a little underrated, but Tombstone, yeah, Tombstone's the better one, in my opinion. Recruz writes, got my early Shazam screening tickets today. Hopefully another win for DC. I'm predicting this is going to be a great win for DC. I'm not saying it's going to be bigger than Aquaman or bigger than Wonder Woman. I'm not saying that, but I think it's going to be a great win for DC. I am ludicrously this excited. I can't remember. Man, it's been a while since I've been this excited for a DC film. I don't know that I've been this excited for a DC film since Man of Steel. I am ridiculously, I'm just unrealistically excited for the Shazam movie. So let's see if it works out. David Cabrera writes, You can't review apps until you buy them. Why doesn't Rotten Tomatoes do the same? They are owned by Fandango. Make sure you can only review once you buy a ticket. I love it. So on the John Campea Show today, we were talking about different ways you can improve, because Rotten Tomatoes is trying to find ways to legitimize the viewer scores, because right now people can game the system way too easy, and you get fake reviews and all this kind of nonsense. And I suggested you can only register a review as a fan if you also, with your score, you upload a picture of you with your ID and holding the ticket that you saw the movie. It proves you saw the movie. Now, yeah, you can still Photoshop that, but trolls tend to be lazy, so it's going to help a lot. So take a picture of somebody holding their ID and their movie ticket, or holding up their movie code on their phone or something like that. And do that. Now, David, I like what you're suggesting. Not everybody uses Fandango, but if you limit it to people, and you're right, Fandango will know, oh yeah, you did buy a ticket for Pet Sematary. You did, because we have it on our records. You bought a ticket for Pet Sematary. So your account is verified to leave a user rating for the movie. Now, that means that limits the amount of people who can do it to those who use Fandango, fine. But that's actually a pretty good idea, because that does legitimize it a lot more. We see that you did buy a ticket from us on Fandango, so you did buy a ticket for Cemetery, therefore you can register a user rating for it. Love it. Love the idea, David. I'm going to bring that up to Robert, too, see what he thinks about that. Casanova Frankenstein, one of the great cinematic villains, by the way. Movie recommendation, One Cut of the Dead, Japanese zombie flick and funniest movie I've seen in a while. You know what? I have not even heard of it. I'm going to bookmark it. One Cut of the Dead. A 2017 film. The poster itself is pretty funny. Okay, bookmarked. I'll check that out. I'll at least check out the trailer later, Casanova. Thanks for the recommendation. Where are we at here? Michael LaGrange writes, I believe the Living Tribunal will debut in Endgame. Some kind of cosmic imbalance, and Cap or Iron Man have to sacrifice themselves to convince the Living Tribunal not to destroy the Earth. I don't know. That seems a little inside baseball to me. That's introducing whole new levels of sweaty geek stuff that may not be palatable to the general movie-going audience. Maybe I'm wrong. But I don't see that happening. I haven't heard anybody else bring up Living Tribunal yet. You're the first person I've heard, Michael, bring up Living Tribunal. So that's intriguing. But I got to say, I don't think they're going to do that. Now, there's also a very, very popular theory that somehow, some way, Cap or Tony have to sacrifice themselves to save everybody. Well, that's par for the course for Captain America. Captain America will sacrifice himself any day to save anyone. And Iron Man's getting to that point too. So that's a possibility. But introducing Living Tribunal, that'll be intriguing if they do that, man. Really intriguing. Abraxas616 writes, couldn't Rotten Tomatoes use Fandango, their owners, to prove users went to the movie? That's exactly what was just brought up, and I like the idea, man. I do. I like the idea. I think that makes a lot of sense. Roman Bryant writes, Marvel is literally Mr. Jameson. You're fired. No, wait, you're unfired. I need you to come here and take pictures, damn it, Gunn. Where's your camera? Take pictures. Kind of right. Eternia Forever writes, if you make Transformers film, is the setting more on Earth or Cybertron? Do we need a human environment? I believe yes. I think you do need humans in a human environment, because that's what the average film goer will gravitate more towards, is the part of the movie that they identify with. And I do think that. Now, otherwise, you might as well just do an animated movie, which they are going to do. They're going to do some animated movies with Cybertron only, and that'll be interesting. But I think if you're doing a big feature-length film, yeah, I think you do need the human element. I think you need to focus more on the Transformers, but I think you do have to have that human environment and that human element. Now, I'm sure a lot of people will disagree with me, and that's cool, but that's just been my experience. I found that that's actually really the case. The general average movie-going audience resonates more with stuff like that. All right. Aaron Wilson writes, Marvel one-shot. Fury, Goose, and Captain Marvel play beach volleyball. I get it. Beach volleyball because his name's Goose. Top Gun. Playing with the boys. Kenny Loggins, everybody. There you go. That's a deep cut, Aaron. That's a deep cut. Zach J. Reviews writes, do you have any more details on if you are seeing Avengers Endgame in 2 weeks? The people need an answer, John. Just kidding. Love the show. Thanks for being a baddest part of my day. Well, thank you for letting me be a part of your day, Zach. Right now, I have no further information. I don't know. I do know Disney's going to screen a movie. I just don't know what the movie is. There's a lot of arguments why it won't be Endgame, but there's a couple of compelling arguments of why it might be. So I don't know. To me, it's a coin toss. It's going to be Endgame or something else. Maybe an Aladdin, maybe something else. I don't know what else they got coming out anytime soon. Maybe it'll be Frozen. Who knows? But I certainly hope it is, and I will let you guys know if I see Endgame. I won't tell you anything about it, but once I know if I'm seeing Endgame or not, and it probably won't be until I get to Vegas. They probably won't announce what it is until I get to Vegas at the beginning of April. But once I know, I will let you guys know. Eternia Forever writes, Morrison in editor-in-chief of Heavy Metal Magazine. Publisher is Kev Eastman, creator of TMNT. I'm not sure what we're talking about, Eternitine, but thank you for the info. Javier Belma writes, about the rating, thoughts on an app that lets you sync with your film accounts. The film/tickets you've bought can be synced so you can rate for free, and if it's not synced, you pay. Huzzah! I mean, that kind of, once again, Javier, looks like a lot of you guys had the same idea. Ties back to this idea of allow people to register a user rating on Rotten Tomatoes if they bought their ticket via Fandango, and once they do buy a ticket Fandango, their account is now cleared to register a vote on Rotten Tomatoes for that movie. It does solve the problem. It limits it a little bit, but it does solve the problem of people gaming the system. So, yeah, I like it, Javier. I like the idea. Gabriel Reed writes, breaking, Disney buys Warner Brothers, owns all of DC Comics. Yeah, that's never going to happen. Not to mention that AT&T just bought Warner Brothers, so they're not about to sell them. Lucas Wilson writes, all these sequels, reboots, and remakes getting made, and I'm just sitting here waiting for National Treasure 3. Well, remember, the other day we did a story on the John Campea Show during the movie news feed that the producers of National Treasure still saying there's a chance. Now, they're not saying it's likely or anything like that, but they're saying there's still a chance. There's still a number of people, they said, at Disney that would like and be interested in doing a National Treasure 3. So I don't know how likely it is that'll happen, but there's a chance. You're saying there's a chance. There's a chance. Javier Belmer writes, I find it hard to believe that a single Alan Horn acted on his own without prior talk with the company. I don't know. It's just not as easy as some dumb, misguided fool. Alan Horn, here's the thing. Alan Horn is not some guy. Alan Horn is the chairman of Disney Pictures. He is the chairman of Disney Pictures. When it comes to Disney movies, he's the boss. He answers to no one other than to the higher corporate guy, and there's only one, that's Bob Iger. But remember, Bob Iger, a lot of people forget, Bob Iger, his main concern is not the movie universe. Bob Iger's in charge of all of Disney. Everything that Disney does. That includes Disney World, Disneyland, the Disney Plus streaming, everything that's Disney, that's what Bob Iger oversees. He does not get into the minutia of hiring and firing individual directors or whatever. That's why he's got the chairman of Disney Pictures, Alan Horn. He's the guy. It's, again, some people think of Alan Horn as just like another foot soldier. Alan Horn is one of the most powerful men in Hollywood. And it was absolutely Alan Horn's. And Bob Iger was going to back whatever decision Alan Horn made. Because Alan Horn is his guy. And you better believe it. That was Alan Horn's decision. He made it. He might have consulted with a couple of people. He probably let Bob Iger know what was happening because it was high profile. But Bob Iger's not going to veto him. So he probably let him know, I'm firing this director because of this. All right. You've thought about it? Yep. All right. Thanks for letting me know, Alan. I mean, that's pretty much how that conversation went. So do not underestimate the position of Alan Horn. He is, when it comes to Disney Pictures, the be-all, end-all. Everything stops here. Don't underestimate that. All right, Rufino Salazar Jr. writes, first time I saw Captain Marvel, there was a group of moms with their teenage girls. Nice. The daughters cheered after the post-credits scene, so it was pretty cool seeing that. And it is really neat One of the cool things about both Black Panther, Captain Marvel is because I go to a lot of comic book movies. And when I went to Black Panther, the audience looked a little bit different. It was a little bit of a different audience than the traditional one I would go to. When I went to Captain Marvel, it was a little bit different of makeup to the audience than before. And that's really cool, seeing new audience members coming out and getting plugged in. It's a great thing, Rufino. All right. Gotham Guy writes, I believe that Warner Brothers missed a huge opportunity to secure Gunn. They should have said, we want you to direct Suicide Squad 2. Oh, and by the way, Green Lantern 2. What do you guys think? Well, you can't make James Gunn direct anything he doesn't want to do. Remember, when they hired James Gunn, they got him by saying, whatever you want to direct. Do you want to direct Superman? Do you want to direct... The only thing that's spoken for is Batman, and Wonder Woman's spoken for as well. But do you want to direct Flash? Do you want to direct this? Do you want... Whatever you want, James, you name it. James named Suicide Squad. Now, I believe they did lock him in for a multi-film deal. So I believe Suicide Squad will not be the last DC film he does. Nor will Guardians of the Galaxy 3 be the last Marvel film he does. We're going to have a director who's going to be making films for both of those studios. And I think that is awesome. But no, you can't lock him in for any one specific thing or else he wouldn't have gone. The only way they were able to get James Gunn, because remember, every studio was lining up and making him offers. The only way they were able to get him is by saying, what would you like to do? And they weren't going to say, okay, we'll use Suicide Squad, but only if you agree to do Green Lantern as well. Well, then he's going to walk away. He's going to do what he wants to do. And I do believe it was probably a multi-film deal. So I don't know that for sure. I don't know the details of his deal, but it seems to me to make sense that they would sign him for a multi-film deal. So he'll do Suicide Squad, then he'll do Guardians of the Galaxy, and then he'll probably do another DC film. Maybe another Suicide Squad, maybe something else. Eternitine Forever writes, Smallville used brand name gum as a plot device. A pal of mine bought it, so there's that. So we talked a little bit earlier today on the John Campea Show about how, hey, a friend of mine bought this one car because as a kid he saw it in a TV show and he loved it ever since. Marketing placement works in movies and television shows, and absolutely it does. And your example of bubblegum, something as simple as bubblegum, is a great example of that. It absolutely does work. Ben Gundamson writes, Ant-Man looking at his daughter and missing poster. No, I think he's out of the quantum realm now, and he's just looking at the state the world is in. Obviously, the world is in a state of chaos. I don't think that was specifically his daughter he was looking at, though. I think he would have looked more than just a little confused if that was his daughter on the poster. I don't think that's the case. It might have been his own picture. Victor Unlimited Show writes, Logan's Run was one of my favorite sci-fi movies, and the Marvel comic adaptation by George Perez was great. What director could do a good remake of that movie today? Hashtag Francis 7 had it coming. I don't get into what director should direct X movie. I don't get into that, and I don't get into what actor should play X role. I don't do that. Any good director. Just get a director who's a good storyteller. And it doesn't have to be somebody that has done the exact same thing before. Like I remember I was talking to Kevin Feige and I asked him, you got a guy like James Gunn who did something like Slither and stuff like that. What made you think he'd be a good fit for a big comic book, sci-fi, CGI, intense, effective, big budget movie like Guardians of the Galaxy? And Kevin Feige gave me the greatest answer. He just looked at me and said, because he knows how to tell stories. And it doesn't matter that he didn't make a movie that was like Guardians before. They recognize this guy can tell fun stories. He tells good stories. And that's all that mattered. So when it comes to any potential, I know that for a long time, Bryan Singer was trying to do a Logan's Run remake. That fell through. Then there were some other attempts to get it going. And maybe it'll still happen. But as far as which director should do it, any good director who's a good storyteller. And you bring in a good director with a good storyteller who's a good storyteller. That's going to be great, and that'll work. All right, Caledon Sound. Kevin Tsujihara is out. For those of you who did not hear about this, I'm sure we're going to talk about more on the John Campea Show tomorrow. But the Warner Brothers chairman, Kevin Tsujihara, is out as a result of the scandal that's been going on. And final question of the day, we're going to wrap things up with this. Apex Caliber writes, will you do Game of Thrones episode spoiler live discussions? Yes. Me, Ann, and Kaori we're going to watch the episodes of Game of Thrones, and we're going to do live open discussions of those things immediately after each episode, all 6. Make sure you guys join us for that. All right, guys, that will do it for this installment of the companion video. We are now all caught up on all the stuff you guys sent in. Thank you so much for sending in all those questions, supporting the channel the way that you have. Really appreciate it. Don't forget, the John Campea Show returns again tomorrow morning with me, Robert, and Ashley. Make sure you guys come back and check us out then. Make sure you check out our podcast, Best Movie, Worst Movie. Go subscribe to it on your favorite podcast app. Make sure you rate it. Make sure you vote for it. It all helps the podcast very much. So that'll do it for me for now, guys. Thanks so much for being here. My name's John Campea, and until next time, bye-bye.